I have been watching the residents of Fairmont Crest navigate the treacherous aftermath of the devastating tornado, but nothing could have prepared me for the sheer, unadulterated psychological warfare that Leslie Thomas just unleashed. For a brief, fleeting moment, I actually thought Leslie was turning over a new leaf. We all saw her crying in the hospital, praying to God and vowing to change her wicked ways if her daughter Eva Thomas survived her liver transplant. We even saw her genuinely thank Catherine Cat Richardson for her selfless life-saving donation. But I should have known better. A leopard never changes its spots, and Leslie Thomas is the most dangerous predator in the DMV. Her recent actions have proven that her so-called redemption was nothing more than a temporary pause in her relentless campaign to destroy anyone who stands between her and what she covets most, Ted Richardson. Let us set the stage for this absolute catastrophe. Ted Richardson and Shanice Johnson have been slowly but surely building a beautiful, mature romance. After the tragic death of Derek Baldwin, Shanice realized that life is simply too short to play games, and she finally allowed herself to fall deeply in love with Ted. Ted in turn confessed his love to her, proving that he was ready to move on from his messy history with his ex-wife Nicole Dupree and his toxic baby mama Leslie. The next logical step in their relationship was for Ted to meet Shanice's notoriously protective brother. This was not just a casual meet and greet. This was a high-stakes proving ground. Ted needed to show these fiercely loyal men that he was a man of honor, integrity, and stability, completely separated from the chaotic drama of his past. So this makes me wonder, how on earth did Leslie find out about this highly confidential, incredibly important dinner? My theory is that Leslie, true to her manipulative nature, has been lurking in the shadows of Garland Memorial Hospital, eavesdropping on private conversations. Perhaps she overheard Shanice excitedly discussing the reservation with Nurse Ashley Morgan, or maybe she even manipulated Dr. Kial Rollins' naive son Noah into slipping her some information. However, she found out Leslie executed her sabotage with the precision of a military general. She didn't just show up. She secretly booked the table directly adjacent to Ted and Shanice's party at the absolute fanciest, most exclusive, and most expensive restaurant in all of Fairmont Crest. This was a calculated ambush designed for maximum public humiliation. The dinner was already tense. You can just imagine Shanice's brothers sitting there, arms crossed, scrutinizing every single word that came out of Ted's mouth. They undoubtedly did their homework on the esteemed doctor. They know about his highly publicized divorce from Nicole Dupree. They know about his scandalous affair with Leslie that resulted in Eva. Ted was already walking on eggshells, desperately trying to prove his worth. And right at the peak of this intense scrutiny, the nightmare begins. Leslie slithers over to their table, putting on an Oscar-worthy performance of a woman who has had far too much to drink. She stumbles slightly, feigning absolute surprise at this coincidental encounter. But we know the truth. Every sway of her hips, every slurred word was a meticulously crafted weapon. Leslie does not just say a polite hello and move on. Oh no. She goes straight for the jugular. She purposely invades their personal space, leaning in close and loudly utilizing her sickeningly sweet pet name for him, Teddy. She begins to loudly and vividly recount deeply passionate, intimate memories of their romantic past. She paints a picture of a fiery, unbreakable bond, completely disregarding the furious glares from Shanice and the bewildered, disgusted looks from her brothers. But that is not all. Leslie then drops the ultimate psychological bomb. With a fake, melancholic sigh, she seamlessly weaves in a blatant lie, loudly implying that Ted used to beg her on his hands and knees to never, ever leave him. I was screaming at my screen during this moment. The sheer audacity of this woman is staggering. By claiming that Ted begged her to stay, Leslie wasn't just reminiscing. She was actively emasculating Ted in front of the very men he was trying to impress. She painted him as a weak, obsessed, and pathetic man who is still hopelessly tethered to his toxic ex-lover. You could practically see the respect draining from the eyes of Shanice's brothers. They looked at Ted not as a successful, stable surgeon, but as a messy, untrustworthy liability who brings chaos wherever he goes. Their suspicions about his integrity were instantly validated by Leslie's venomous performance. The reaction from Shanice was nothing short of explosive, and honestly, I completely support her fury. Shanice is a strong, independent woman who has dealt with enough heartbreak and trauma. She took a massive leap of faith by opening her heart to Ted. To sit at the fanciest restaurant in town, surrounded by her protective family, and be subjected to the drunken, humiliating taunts of her boyfriend's baby mama is an unforgivable indignity. Shanice's anger wasn't just directed at Leslie, it was directed at Ted. Why couldn't he shut this down immediately? Why did he look like a deer caught in the headlights? Ted was caught in an impossible, agonizing middle ground, trying to quietly de-escalate a woman who thrives on screaming matches. His inability to aggressively protect Shanice's peace in that moment was a glaring failure. Desperate to salvage the flaming wreckage of this crucial introduction, Ted tries to go into damage control. After Leslie finally stumbles away, Ted desperately tries to plead his case to Shanice's brother. He tries to explain that Leslie is unstable, that she is prone to delusions, and that his heart belongs absolutely and exclusively to Shanice. He is sweating, his voice is tight with panic, and he is fighting for the survival of his relationship. For a brief second, it looks like he might just be able to talk them down from the ledge. He is a smooth talker, after all. But Leslie Thomas is not a woman who leaves things to chance. She had a nuclear option waiting in the wings, ready to detonate the moment Ted thought he was safe. Just as the tension at the table reaches a fragile plateau, Leslie launches the second and most devastating phase of her attack. She stages a frantic, hysterical, medical emergency. She comes rushing back, wailing in absolute agony, screaming that she just received a call from the hospital. She claims, through fake, heaving sobs, that their daughter, Eva, is suffering from severe, life-threatening complications following her recent liver transplant surgery. She cries out that Eva is crashing, that the doctors don't know what to do, and that only Ted, as her father and a brilliant surgeon, can make the urgent, split-second medical decisions required to save her life. My theory is that Leslie knew exactly how vile and unforgivable this lie was, and that is precisely why she used it. She weaponized Kat Richardson's sacred, life-saving sacrifice just to win a petty romantic squabble. It is a level of depravity that borders on true sociopathy. By invoking Eva's liver transplant, Leslie backed Ted into an impossible, agonizing corner. Ted was violently torn between two fundamental pillars of his identity: his profound responsibility as a father and his deep, desperate love for Shanice. How could any father, let alone a doctor, ignore the screams of a mother claiming their child is dead? Ted makes the only choice a father logically can make in that terrifying scenario. He abandons the dinner. He apologizes frantically to Shanice and her brothers, his face pale with sheer terror for Eva, and he rushes out of the restaurant, leaving his new relationship bleeding out on the dining room floor. But here's the tragic reality. To Shanice's brothers, this was not the act of a devoted, heroic father. This was the act of a coward. They did not see a man rushing to save his child. They saw a weak, easily manipulated man who will forever jump the second his toxic ex-wife snaps her finger. They viewed his sudden departure as the ultimate sign of disrespect toward their son. In their eyes, Ted proved he is entirely unworthy of protecting Shanice's heart. The trust they might have cautiously extended to him was instantly, and perhaps permanently, eradicated. The aftermath of this cruel manipulation is almost too painful to bear. Ted rushes to Garland Memorial Hospital, his heart pounding out of his chest, ready to move heaven and earth to save Eva. But when he arrives, he discovers the sickening, devastating truth. Eva is perfectly fine. She is resting comfortably, her vitals are stable, and there are absolutely no complications whatsoever. The entire emergency was a fabricated, malicious lie crafted by Leslie solely to pull him away from Shanice. The realization of this profound manipulation must have been soul-crushing for Ted. He sacrificed the respect of Shanice's family and potentially the love of his life for a phantom crisis engineered by a monster. So, what happens next in this tangled web of deceit? My theory is that this might truly be the final straw for Shanice Johnson. She is a woman who values peace and stability, and she simply cannot live a life where Leslie Thomas can invent a crisis and summon Ted away at a moment's notice. The damage done with her brothers might be insurmountable. They will undoubtedly pressure Shanice to end things with Ted, arguing that he brings too much toxic baggage into her life. Ted is going to have to perform an absolute miracle to win back their trust, and I genuinely do not know if he is capable of doing so. But we also have to consider the collateral damage of Leslie's actions. What happens when Eva finds out? Eva has been struggling with immense guilt and body dysmorphia post-surgery, and she is profoundly grateful to Kat for saving her. If Eva discovers that her mother faked a life-threatening complication regarding that very same liver just to ruin her father's date, Eva will be utterly disgusted and horrified. This could be the catalyst that severs the mother-daughter bond forever. Leslie may have won this petty battle by ruining Ted's dinner, but she is on the fast track to losing the war and alienating every single person who ever cared about her. The tension in Fairmont Crest has reached an absolute boiling point, and I will be watching every single episode to see how this explosive fallout destroys the lives of everyone involved.